Hello guys, NautoAis here, and I want to give my thoughts on the Pokemon Present that happened on Pokemon Day 2025. So I'm gonna give my thoughts on what they offer this. I have to say, the presentation, it's okay for what it is. At least they have quote unquote a console game announcement. Because if you notice, the last Pokemon Present was actually last year because there wasn't one on August of 2024 because of what happened with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, with the performance, people complained. And the Pokemon Company themselves did address it to a point that the latest game that they announced from last year's Pokemon Present wasn't even released in 2024, but it will be released in late 2025. Chances are November, but I'll be talking about that later. Starting with Pokemon Concierge. So it was announced that there will be a Season 2 coming in September 2025 on Netflix. And as of right now until March, you can watch the first season on YouTube if you don't have Netflix. And I have to say for the show, it is kind of interesting. It's a good, casual, relaxing Pokemon show, unlike the Pokemon New Horizon one. So very good, casual, fun to watch with family. The animation, it's pretty interesting, pretty beautiful. There's also behind the scene, I think, if you can watch it on the internet. But yes, so Season 2 coming fall of 2025. Pokemon Master EX will have a Signa suit for May and Brandon. And they're going to be partnering with the Primal Pokemon, Groundu, Kiori, respectively. So again, if you enjoy those games, and it's not that bad, but to some extent for me, I tend to drop it. And it gets boring a bit, but once in a while I try to get back to it. But yeah, so they announced that Brandon and May will have a new variation Signa suit that they partner with Primal legendary Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire. Pokemon Cafe is going to have more new Pokemon coming in. They're going to add in Flapple and Apple Tune on that game. Pokemon Sleep, which I use, good if you want to improve your sleeping to some extent. It kind of gives you reason how to sleep better, which people should really. So anyway, they finally going to release that Pokemon that's sort of related to Pokemon Sleep because it's all about dreams and nightmare. And that is the Darkrai and Cresselia will be coming in Pokemon Sleep. And then in Pokemon Unite, Tuisin will come on March 1st, Alola Raichu in April, and then Alcremie later in the year. And apparently also there's going to be a new battle event called First of 50, a new type of rule coming in 2025, and also that there's a code to get a Suicune medal that I guess you can equip it to your Pokemon, give you an advantage. But again, for people who enjoy Pokemon Unite, here we go. I kind of like the game. It's not that bad. But again, for me, a lot of games, do I really want to put a lot of time in it? Unless you're a Pokemon fanatic, backlog, stuff like that. But if you want something quick to play, Battle Royale to some extent, Pokemon Unite, it's sort of good. But longevity, well, that's a different story there. And then going to the Pokemon trading card game, they're going to introduce new Pokemon, apparently Mega Evolution Pokemon. So certain Pokemon that can do Mega Evolution, they're going to be now on the trading card game. And then in Pokemon Go, they're going to add in Kung and Urshifu in the mobile game. So if you don't know who those are like the Kung Fu Bear and Sword and Shield, namely the expansion pack. So they're going to be also now on Pokemon Go. So, really interesting what they're doing in Pokemon Go. You can actually get legendary Pokemon in an alternative way. Because remember, a lot of this thing, you can move them to the other games. So if you need a legendary Pokemon, if you're having a hard time getting them on the game itself, Pokemon Go, if you're willing to put the time, there's your alternative. And then, like I said, Pokemon Home, I did an impression a long time ago. You can use the free version. Just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to keep a lot of Pokemon, while premium would go up to 6,000. I wish they can add more, but we'll just have to wait and see if they're willing to do that. If they're probably going to put more, then the game's probably going to cost more, but that's a different story there. But anyway, like I said, Kung Fu and Urshifu is going to be coming in Pokemon Go. And then now, at least for this Pokemon Present, that's what they finally did one since last year. Like I said, there wasn't August because there was no video game reveal. And if you put a Pokemon Present without it, the Pokemon hardcore fans are going to get grouchy. They're gonna be throwing a tantrum because that's always been apparently in this particular Pokemon Present, some of them are throwing a tantrum because, oh, it's not that good, oh, the Pokemon's outdated. And I mean, it is what it is, your opinion, whatever. So anyway, the first of the video game Pokemon is Pokemon Champion. So first I thought, because I got Blue Ball, because I saw two kids playing the original Game Boy Pocket, because one had a red and a green, so I thought they were going to bring in Pokemon the NSO. Of course, that's not the case. What it is they were showing people doing the battling, and then they introduced, of course, Pokemon Champions. So for what they show for the trailer, they are bringing back the stadium-style Pokemon game. So if you don't know, those are more of heavily on battle than like the story mode, the RPG style. The idea really is that you bring your Pokemon from the RPG, which is Pokemon, red, blue, green, gold, silver, the Game Boy Advance, etc., 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 and you bring them to their respected Pokemon Stadium type game. So they did that in the past for the N64, of course, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, and in Japan there were actually 3 Pokemon Stadium, but the first one was really more like a limited version. Pokemon Stadium was actually Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan, and of course Pokemon Stadium 2 is 3 in Japan, but you get what I'm talking about. And of course in the GameCube, Pokemon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness for Ruby and Sapphire. And I don't know if it also worked with Fire and Leaf Green, but that's a different story there. And then definitely in the Xeno 4th generation, DS, Wii, Pokemon Battle Royale Evolution, which is my favorite one. That one you can use Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Possibly Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but that was a long time ago. And then after that, they kind of stopped because to some extent that the Pokemon itself was able to connect online, and you can do your own battle. But people been wondering, hey, when's the next Pokemon Stadium type game? So they're watching one for the 7th, 8th, and 9th, especially 8th and 9th, since to some extent they have their own built-in Pokemon Stadium type competition. But now they have Pokemon Champion, which is once again a stadium style gameplay Pokemon game. So right now they're just saying that for this game, first of all, yes, all the aspect of the gimmick from Mega Evolution, Terrestrialization, and other sort of transformation, they're basically right now it's only those two they mentioned, are going to be able to be played on Pokemon Champion. And not only that, because this game will be integrated with Pokemon Home, so that means if you got powerful Pokemon, whether in Pokemon Go or Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they didn't mention Sword and Shield, but I'm going to be guessing you could also as well. Maybe Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee to some extent. You can bring those Pokemon, your powerful Pokemon, put them in home, use them, bring them in Pokemon Champion. So it's kind of like, once again, what the stadium is all about. Because that is the main objective, is you bring your powerful Pokemon for your game to the stadium type game. So they're doing the same thing with this one. And it's going to come out on Nintendo Switch. So maybe Nintendo Switch in the long run. You just have to wait and see. And mobile. So the keyword there I said was mobile. So the question is, does it mean this game is a free to play, or do you have to pay? If you're putting out a mobile game and you're charging like $50 for this or whatever, how much, kind of like what they're doing with Capcom with the Resident Evil game, you're out of your mind. Nobody's going to pay more than $10 on a mobile game. Just saying there. So I'm going to guess it's going to be free to play, because since they do offer you like free Pokemon in the game itself, but of course, stadium type game, you're supposed to use the Pokemon that you powered up and you bring them in the stadium game. We just have to wait and see. No date release yet. My guess is not going to be a 2025. This could be a 2026 release. And eventually, once the Switch 2 been announced and Nintendo Direct, they might announce, it's also going to be in the Switch 2. We just have to wait and see. And of course, like I said, you're going to be able to integrate it with Pokemon Home. So does it mean you have to be subscribed, a premium version, or can it be the free version? Again, you just have to wait and see there. And then, of course, Scarlet and Violet also announced that, first of all, they offer a code to get a Rotom cover, Whoopee. But not only that, there's going to be some new Terror Raid battle event. Basically, the Paldea starter. There's going to be a Terra raid for that one. Plus more Pokemon Outbreak, some rare ones. So again, here's your chance. And as for the game itself, like you say, hey, what happened to the update? I thought they were supposed to fix the game. Well, and I kind of talked about it in the previous video, that the rumor about it now, that to some extent, from an insider, I give a rumor at the same time, take it with a grain of salt, as a lot of people say, and that is that they are basically gonna not pursue trying to fix the game on the Nintendo Switch. They're like, they're just gonna move on the DLC, which they did, and that was it. They did whatever they could. Yes, it's kind of like a la Batman Origin with WB Montreal. There was a point that they said they were going to try to fix the game. They said, you know what, screw it. We're just going to offer you more DLC. Scummy to some extent, but I think in this perspective development, they just basically hit a roadblock. They couldn't really do anything about it. So with that said, like I said, the rumor is that if the Switch 2 has some sort of boost mode feature, they just might just do that rectification on that console instead. It is what it is. Again, that's a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. But there you go. So, of course, closing with this one is Pokémon Legends ZA. So, they finally revealed the game. They did some sort of trailer explaining the game. So, first of all, the starter Pokemon for that one, in my opinion, is kind of weird because you got two Johto starter and a Unova starter. But the funny part is, on Legend Arceus, there was a Johto starter, which is the fire type. And then you got Oshawott for Unova. And then from the Alola was that owl Pokemon. But this one now you have Chikorita and Totodile, both from Johto, while Tepig is from Unova. But it is what it is. So they explain what the story is about. So it is sort of look like now modern, because in Legend Arceus, it was like sort of a Sengoku era way in the past. And it takes place basically just around Jubilee City. Of course, this one is Luminous City. And yes, you are going to be just sticking to Luminous City in this one, but it's going to be really big. You're not going to go out of Luminous City, but there is a lot of things to do. They also showed the new characters, and one of the characters from the original game is there, AZ, because supposed to be he's been living for 3,000 years. I don't know the lore, never really finished that game, X and Y, I know. And they also showed how the battle, there is a lot of improvement, so for this one, what I saw, no more turn-based, it looks like it. Now it's more active time battle area tactics. So what it means is that if you want to dodge around the attack, you got to move around. And when you attack, there's now range. So you can't just attack someone and think that it'll just hit him. It depends on the move. There's going to be, the range may vary. So it's kind of like, to some extent, Neptunia, that it depends on what your weapon, what your skill is. It might reach, it might not. So it's sort of kind of get the idea from Pokemon Unite, because it's sort of the same thing what they did there. So they integrate that with ZA. They introduce new characters. Are they related to the main character for Pokemon X and Y? Again, it is unknown, because even so it's modern, remember, keep in mind that ZA is supposed to take place in the past. It's supposed to be that it's the early development of Luminous City. That's what it is. By the time X and Y is, Luminous City was already been in its prime. The technology, the foundation, the development is already finished. But with CA, supposedly that they're starting. Again, I don't know. They didn't really talk about the story. But what they brought back is Mega Evolution. And maybe there's going to be new Mega Evolution. Maybe there's going to be new type regional Pokemon that's Kalos exclusive. Who knows? We just have to wait and see. And then closing with the trailer, some sort of like an event. So my guess is, just like the previous game, there might be some sort of minor events in the game throughout the years. And that'll be interesting. So, of course, they finally revealed sort of the date. They said fall or late 2025. My guess will be November of 2025. Makes sense. Do not release a lot of Pokemon games. Look what happened. 2021, 2022 was so bad, because Pokemon Diamond Pearl Remake was November 2021. January 2022 was Legend Arceus. And then November 2022, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And you know what happened to that game. And yes, as of right now, the game is still shedding performance. Like I said, the rumor is they're basically just not going to pursue trying to fix the game, but they might do it on the Switch too if there's that boost mode option. Just have to wait and see. So there you go, my thoughts on Pokemon Present 2025. I give it a B because it's as expected, not really big surprises. People wanted the Pokemon Classic game on the NSO. They didn't mention that. Of course, there will be mobile game, but at least they kind of learned that you don't talk too much about it. A lot of the hardcore Pokemon fans don't like it. They throw sand through them, as always. So you just have to wait and see that one. So you might say, well, what about Pokemon Generation 10? What about, are they going to ever put the Pokemon game on the NSO? Well, credit to Kid and Krista, they said that might be in 2026, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Makes sense. And then by the time, of course, 2026, the Switch 2 is already out, an improved NSO. Remember, Nintendo did say that in 2025 to 2026, when the Switch 2 comes out, the NSO will have some improvement. That's why, for me personally, I decided once again to subscribe to the expansion premium version again because I want to see this quote-unquote new improvement for the NSO in 2025. That's what Nintendo said. We just have to wait and see. You gotta be patient about that one. I think 2026 is going to be the big one. Makes more sense. Pokemon Classic on the NSO. Gen 10. It's going to be on the Switch 2. Kind of makes sense there. So there's my thoughts. So with that said also, there's going to be a bonus and a different video. Normally, I try not to talk about leaks because it's kind of like just wrong. But since leaks has already been passed, people already talk about it. And some of the leaks were true, which one of them was Pokemon Champion, because one of the leak was they are creating a game that's a multiplayer type game. Pokemon Champion kind of makes sense there. So we'll just have to wait and see about that game, like I said. So anyway, next time, I'm going to give my thoughts on some of the leak that was interesting that I saw on the internet. Some of them basically were just kind of like documentary about the past game, scratch ideas, scrap Pokemon. I mean, it is what it is. Why not just make a book about it, make a history? Japanese company probably don't want to reveal their secret, but it is interesting because they kind of did it with the Mario, believe it or not. I think at one point Nintendo got leaked. And one of the stories was that Mario 64 was supposed to be able to play Luigi also. Of course, that did happen with the DS version, but you get an idea. So I'm going to give my thoughts on that one on a different video. So with that, I'll see you guys later.